The stranger's grin vanished the instant the words left my mouth. "She's my girlfriend," I said, trying to sound far more confident than I felt. My neighbor froze beside me, then slowly slipped her fingers between mine. She looked straight into the man's eyes, squeezed my hand, and whispered so quietly only I could hear, "Don't take it back." Some lies disappear the moment danger passes. Others change two lives forever. What started as a desperate attempt to protect a woman I barely knew became the beginning of a story neither of us could have imagined. Sometimes courage arrives disguised as a simple sentence, and sometimes the people living just a few feet away are carrying battles no one can see. Stay with me until the end because this isn't just a story about pretending to be in love. It's about discovering that the strongest relationships often begin with one unexpected act of kindness. Before we begin, if you enjoy emotional and inspiring stories like this, make sure to support the channel by liking this video, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Your support helps us bring more powerful stories of kindness, hope, and humanity. I had lived in apartment 4B for almost 3 years, and during that time my neighbor in 4A had always been a mystery. Her name was Emma. She looked to be around 28, worked strange hours, and always carried herself with quiet confidence. We exchanged polite smiles in the hallway, held doors open for each other, and once shared an awkward elevator ride during a power outage. That was the extent of our relationship. Still, I noticed things. She always watered the dying plants in the hallway, even though they weren't hers. She carried groceries for the elderly man downstairs without waiting to be asked. Every Sunday morning, soft piano music drifted through the wall separating our apartments. It was peaceful, almost comforting. But I also noticed something else. Every few weeks, the same dark SUV would park across the street. A tall man would lean against it, staring toward our building. Sometimes he waited 20 minutes. Sometimes an hour. Whenever Emma walked outside, she immediately became tense. She never looked at him, but she always walked faster. I told myself it wasn't my business. Until Friday evening. I had just finished work when I heard raised voices outside the entrance. "Emma, just listen to me." "I've already said no." "You owe me a conversation." "I don't owe you anything." I looked through the glass door and saw the man blocking her path. She kept trying to step around him, but he moved each time, refusing to let her leave. Several people walked by. No one stopped. Before I could think twice, I pushed the door open. "There you are," I called loudly, pretending to sound annoyed. "I've been looking everywhere for you." Both of them turned. Emma looked completely confused. The man's eyes narrowed. I walked directly beside her and smiled as naturally as I could. "Ready to go, babe?" She blinked. For one terrifying second I thought she'd expose the lie. Instead, she reached for my hand. Her fingers were cold. She leaned close enough that only I could hear her breathing. Then she whispered, "Don't take it back." The words caught me completely off guard. She wasn't asking me to continue pretending. She sounded desperate. The stranger forced a smile. "I didn't realize you had a boyfriend." Emma answered before I could. "He moved in a few months ago." I almost laughed at how confidently she lied. The man studied me carefully. "You should be careful," he finally said. "Some people aren't who they seem." His words sounded less like advice and more like a threat. I met his stare. So should people who don't understand the meaning of no. For several long seconds neither of us moved. Finally he shook his head, climbed into the SUV, and drove away. Only after the taillights disappeared did Emma let go of my hand. She took a deep breath as though she'd been underwater. "Thank you," she whispered. "You okay?" She nodded too quickly. "I'm fine." "No," I said gently. "You're pretending to be." She looked at me for a long moment. "I don't want to drag you into this." "You didn't." "I think I did." We walked upstairs in silence. Outside her apartment she hesitated. "I owe you an explanation." "You don't owe me anything." She smiled sadly. "You're kinder than you realize." She unlocked her door but didn't go inside. Instead she asked, "Would you, maybe have coffee tomorrow?" I nodded. "I'd like that." The next morning she arrived carrying 2 paper cups instead. I figured we'd talk on the roof, she said. The city stretched around us beneath a bright blue sky. For several minutes she simply stared into the distance. Finally she spoke. The man yesterday is named Ryan. Your ex? She nodded. We dated for 4 years. What happened? He controlled everything. Her voice remained calm, but her hands trembled around the coffee cup. My friends. My clothes. My work. Even how long I stayed at the grocery store. I stayed quiet. When I finally left, he refused to accept it. Why not call the police? I did. She looked down. They warned him. And he got smarter. No threats. No violence. Just constant appearances. Outside work. Outside my apartment. Outside my gym. Enough to remind her he was always watching. People think stalking only matters if someone gets hurt, she said softly. They don't understand that living in constant fear hurts every single day. I didn't know what to say. So I simply listened. For the first time since I'd met her, the mysterious woman next door wasn't mysterious anymore. She was exhausted. Lonely. And trying very hard not to fall apart. Before we left the rooftop, she smiled for the first time that felt genuine. You know, she said, for a fake boyfriend, you make a surprisingly good listener. I laughed. I'll add it to my resume. She laughed too. It was a beautiful sound. Neither of us realized someone parked across the street was watching us together, gripping a steering wheel so tightly his knuckles had turned white.